Good morning, young psychologists. This is In Case You Missed Psychology 1 for Thursday, April 15th. And if you're watching this, that means that you were unable to make it to class today for whatever reason, and that is okay. That's why I do this. I hope you're well. Hope those around you are well. I hope you're having a great near end of your week. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to run you guys through everything that we talked about today in class. I'm going to show you all the slides, do all the things, and look pretty doing it. It's hard work. Okay. So I'm going to tell you this right off the bat, and I said it at the end of this slide anyway, but if there's anything that you're on the struggle bus with chapter 1, work-wise or information-wise, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help, give some clarification, give you another example, say it another way. You just have to ask. I don't read minds yet. I just haven't evolved quite that far yet. Maybe in the next go-around. Who knows? So we're going to start you guys off with the reminders and goals slide. And the first reminder is we have our Unit 1 test tomorrow. Okay, that is going to be mostly multiple choice true false. And then there is one short essay question. For that short essay, you're probably going to be rocking in, I don't know, a nice paragraph. Maybe if you're a little wordy, maybe you could go more. Otherwise, make sure you're prepared to do that. You are going to be allowed to use your resources on that. So hopefully you've been taking notes all along. I'll get to a way that I'm helping you with this last day of stuff in a few minutes, but be prepared tomorrow. That is going to be the primarily, our time use tomorrow. Tomorrow, when you get done with the test, I am going to give you the rest of the time to work on that assignment. Do not forget about that assignment that is due on Monday. Crash course chapter 1, chapter 1 crash course is due Monday by midnight. So you'll have tomorrow to work on that. And that is actually going to be the focus of your time on Monday as well. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we are going to look at the different problem-solving approaches that are used in modern day psychology. Now, what I did to help you is I took screenshots of each one of the slides that we're going to talk about today, and I posted them in Google Classroom. They're going to be in the post, I think, below this one. So if you're looking for these, if you're trying to keep up furiously with the notes, that's amazing. Way to go. But I did you a solid, and I gave you the notes that you need. So, and then obviously, if you have any questions about any of the topics we've talked about in this first chapter, please feel free to reach out. Like I said, use any other time you have plotted for today's class to do some work on that chapter 1 crash course. And like I said, for about the 15th time already, questions, comments, concerns, compliments, you reach out. I'm here, especially on the compliments. Never one to turn down a good compliment. Okay, so let's get moving. What we're looking at today is basically some different ways that different kinds of psychologists look at problems, okay? And so one of the beauties of psychology, but at the same time, one of the things that makes it so complicated is there's a lot of different ways to problem solve, and there's a lot of different ways to come up with the right answer. I like to compare it to like really complex math problems like that. Not everybody takes the same route to solve really complex math problems. You might have the same problem on the board and 5 different people could do it slightly differently, 5 different ways, and still come up with the right answer, okay? Whereas a lot of times in our other scientific, our scientific brothers, chemistry, physics, biology, there really only tends to be one right process. If you don't mix X chemical and Y thing together in the right solutions, you're not going to get what you're supposed to get. And so it makes it great because there's a lot of ways to get the right answer. And it can make it tough because there's a lot of options for how to go about things, okay? So psychology is really still expanding, literally every day. It's an expanding science. Different ways of thinking about problems, different answers to problems come up every year. Because with the science that we have now, we know things now that we didn't know 2 weeks ago. Okay, just because scientific advancements, medical technology, medical imaging allow us to know things that we didn't know. So over the years, there have been a lot of different approaches, or I'll call them approaches, but they're problem-solving methods for psychology have emerged. Now, listen, Here's the thing about what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to go through, let me double check the count on the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to go through 7 approaches. Okay. And the main reason I'm going to go through 7 approaches is I try really, really hard every year to stay in contact with a bunch of my college freshmen. And I ask them, what classes are you taking? If anybody is taking an intro to psych class, I go, hey man, I'm going to check in with you a couple of times during the semester. If you need any help, let me know. But one of the things I always ask is, hey, when you talked about the problem solving or the approaches in your class, how many did you have and what were they called? Okay. Now, what I found is just in the last year, I've had a range of 4 approaches up to 7. Okay. And so what I always try to do is I always try to make sure to teach every one of the ones that pops up. The last psych textbook I taught about had 6 approaches in it. So I've kind of added a 7th that has popped up at a lot of the UW schools. And I've got people at private colleges around the state. I also have some students in other states who have helped contribute to this list over the years. It's one of those things that's unfortunate because it's a place where psychology is also inconsistent, that there aren't 5 or 6. You got 4, you got 5, you got 6, you got 7. Okay. Who knows? Next year, an 8th may pop up. Okay. Now, here's the thing about these approaches. You may see similarities in some of them. You may be like, I don't really see the big difference between behaviorism and the evolutionary approach. Well, you know what? I might not either. They definitely, though, have places where they are very different. Sometimes, though, here's the problem. Sometimes when you look at a problem, you're like, it's not one of the 7 that does it. I think if we combine these 2 together, we get the answer. And sometimes when you look at a problem, you might look at a problem number 1 and go, oh, I think the best solution to this is the biopsychological approach or biological approach. Okay, cool. That works for me. You have come up with a solid answer. But then the next problem you go, ooh, but I don't think biological works for this. I think this might be a behavioral approach. We'll get into what these all mean in a few minutes. And so what tends to happen is there are psychologists who will look at these approaches and go, I agree with this one. I agree with this one. I agree with this one. But I don't like that one, and that one. So I'm going to use these 3 to solve everything. Now, if you are borrowing from a number of different systems to make your own unique system, there's a term for that in science and in life, and that term is being eclectic or eclecticism. A lot of people have eclectic music taste. I have eclectic music taste. Okay. Most of what I listen to is alternative music, bands like 21 Pilots and Of Mice and Men and Gus Dapperton and the Happy Fits and things like that. Okay. Beach Bunny, bands you guys have never heard of. But then I also will listen to rock like Five Finger Death Punch and Metallica. There's a little bit of country. I'll do a little Luke Combs, maybe. I can handle a little Garth Brooks every once in a while. Not a huge fan of the kind of rap you guys listen to, but I like old school rap, pop music. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy a good Taylor Swift. All right. I really, really do. She doesn't bother me that much. I will rock out with some old Britney Spears. You throw Toxic on, I know the words to that song like crazy. All right. So my music taste is eclectic. Movies. I like comedies. I like horror. I like action. I like sappy crap. Okay. So I have an eclectic view on those things. You might have an eclectic view about food. You like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay. And so if you're borrowing from more than one of these systems, if you go, I like that one, and that one, you're being eclectic. If you problem solve using only one of these approaches, not only are you a unique individual, but you deserve a medal. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through the 7 approaches. And rather than go through it point by point by point by point, there's 4 bullet points on this slide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sum it all up in one easy package. And I'm going to give you an example to work with. Okay. So in the biopsychological or biological approach to the same thing, the way that a biological scientist or psychologist explains behavior is all of the behaviors that you do are a result of the biology of your body in a given moment. So we don't make a lot of conscious decisions. Our decisions are a result of heart rate and perspiration and oxygen levels and hormone levels in the brain and blood and how are we feeling on a given day when it comes to like your health. So for instance, when I was a little kid, I was down in Tennessee. I was playing catch with my dad in the backyard of my grandma's house. Okay. Yeah. Lordy, Christopher Michael, that grandmother. Okay. And I heard a rattlesnake not too far behind me. My heart started to beat. Adrenaline, my stomach dropped, and I ran. Okay. Now, a biological psychologist would say that I didn't make the conscious decision to run. I ran because the biology of my body in that given moment said, run. Okay. If you went to the office, if you got called to the office, Mr. C, please send blah, blah, blah to the office, they're in trouble. And you're walking up to the office and you're sitting in the chair outside of Mr. Siverd's office and you throw up. A biological psychologist would say the reason you threw up is because it increased stomach acid, increased adrenaline, lactic acid buildup, maybe not breathing as much as they should. Therefore, the body felt irregular and the person vomited. Okay. So everything is a result of biology. If Miss Bent taught it to you, it goes here. Okay. All right. The next one, the behavioral approach. I'm going to be real honest. I don't usually tell you how I feel about this. I'm a fan of this one, and there's a reason why I like it. This one borrows from the work of William James, our functionalist from yesterday that said we can adapt our behavior, a guy named John B. Watson, who we'll talk about in psychology too if you take that class, and another guy named B.F. Skinner. And they all did research into this area and basically believe the behavioral approach is you are a product of the things that you learned, and you will repeat the things that you learned that had good outcomes, and you will not repeat the things that you learned that had bad outcomes. Now, the key to this is you learned it and you remember it, okay? And Watson believed that you could take 5 babies at birth and remove them from their parents, and you could train one to be a ballerina, one to be a football player, one to be this, one to be that, and that's what they would turn out to be. Skinner trained pigeons to play ping pong and guide missiles and things like that based on where they pecked. We'll get into Watson's more famous experiment with you guys down the road, okay? So you're a product of things you've learned. So the reason that I will hit a Taco Bell at 11 o'clock on a Friday night is because I've learned that that is a normal choice for someone to make because nothing else is open. Taco Bell's a good late night food. It's cheap. I've learned that, so I repeat the behavior. Okay. Now, you get called up to the office. You're in trouble. You're sitting outside of Mr. Siverd's office and you throw up. Somebody using the behavioral approach might say something like you were in trouble when you were a little kid and you felt sick and you threw up and everybody forgot about the bad thing that you did and took care of you because you were sick. And so the bad thing was forgiven in respect to your health. And so you're sitting outside of Mr. Siverd's office and you're like, how can I get out of this? Oh my God, there was that one time I was in trouble that I threw up that I got out of it. And so you've learned that that's an appropriate way to get out of trouble, and therefore you throw up. Make yourself throw up. People can do that. You make yourself throw up so you don't have to deal with trouble, okay? You learn, you repeat. You learn, you repeat, okay? All right, the next one, the humanistic approach. I'm gonna be real honest, I'm not a huge fan of this one. Not a huge fan. I can see it in some things. The humanistic approach was developed by a guy named Carl Rogers. No, that is not Fred from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Carl Rogers is a different dude. Same kind of thinking, though. He was a humanist. He believed that all of your behaviors were a result of how you saw yourself, that you were capable of great good, you were capable of doubting yourself. He believed that everybody was basically good, and that if you did something, it was because you believed in yourself enough to get it done. And if you failed, if behavior was failed, the reason you failed is because you didn't have enough confidence in yourself or you didn't believe in yourself. So here I am filming this video. I hope it's going well. I hope you're learning something. If I am done with this video and I feel happy about what I did, Carl Rogers would say that's because you believe in yourself teaching this lesson, you believe in yourself with technology, and you believe that you can connect with high school students about these 7 things. Now, if when I get done, I go, oh, that was terrible. Or if I delete this completely, Carl Rogers would say it's because I didn't believe in myself when it came to teaching these things. All right. So you go up to the office, you barf on your shoes. Carl Rogers and the humanists would say it was because you realize that you're a better person than whatever behavior you did that got you called up there. And you're disappointed in yourself. And therefore, you throw up because you're disappointed with the person that you've become. Little fluffy. Okay. All right. The next one, I'm going to make sure I'm not skipping any. The psychodynamic or psychoanalytic approach. Psychodynamic is a word that came up a few years ago, so I added it to the slide because I want you guys to be in the know if you decide to keep doing this. This is Sigmund Freud. We talked about him a little bit yesterday. Freud believed that you are a product of the things that have happened to you in your life that you do not remember. A lot of people believe that every experience you've ever had in your life is up here. Heck, there's some psychologists that think every experience you've had in past lives, if you believe in that, is up here. And there's even some psychologists who think we have some kind of collective unconscious where all the experiences of man are up here. Cool, that's some deep stuff. Regardless, you've had tons of things happen to you in your life that you don't easily access. The shirt you wore to the first day of kindergarten. Something you did at someone's birthday party when you were little that you're like, I did that? Freud believed that all impacted the way you behaved. And therefore, I may use certain words and certain word choices because when I was younger, I said things like this and people responded positively. Now, I don't remember those conversations. I may get weird feelings around people and not know why. Well, maybe there's someone from my distant, and I have a lot of distant, past who was like that person, but I don't remember them. Okay? So if you got called up to the office and you looked all over the place, in a psychodynamic psychologist would say because you had an experience like this earlier in life and when you threw up, you got out of it, but you don't remember that. You just get this feeling that that's the way to get out of it, okay? So there's a big difference between behavioral and psychodynamic, and the big difference is you learned it, you remember it, you repeat it. In psychodynamic, you just get this feeling that you should do something. You're repeating, but you don't remember, okay? All right, the next one, the evolutionary approach. Behavior is evolution. You see evolution, you think Darwin. At least that's the way your brain should work. Darwin said that things changed to basically survive, to end up in a better place. And so the evolutionary approach looks at your ability to adapt to survive, to adapt to better yourself. And so I had to learn Google Meet. I had to get down all these screencastifys and things better than I did before. I had to learn how to talk to a screen in a room by myself. What seemed awkward 6 months ago is now relatively normal. If they looked at me and said, Marshall High School is going fully online next year, there's not even going to be a school building, I could still teach here. It'd be okay. All right. Now, you change your behavior all the time. And these guys believed that you change your behavior as you figured out things about the world. So you get into that office and you throw up. That's a survival mechanism, baby. You threw up because you didn't want to get in trouble, because you knew that if you did something stupid, your phone would get taken away, your car keys would get taken away. And so you adapt to survive. Now, here's where we get a similarity to another one. In the behavioral approach, when we talk about functionalism, we change behaviors to fit. We learn something, we repeat. I do see some gray area similarity here, but here we are changing and adapting behavior to move ourselves towards a better version of ourselves, okay? The next one is the cognitive approach. Cognitive means thinking. Cognition is thinking. And so the cognitive approach is basically a well thought out plan. All of your behaviors are a result of calculations that you make about what's appropriate and how to be successful or non-successful in situations. And so when I sit down here and go, how am I going to go about teaching this today? I sit down and I make myself a plan. I use Post-it notes. I write notes to myself. I don't want to go through point by point. There are certain things I want to emphasize. I want the video to be about this long. I need to crack a joke every once in a while because things are boring. I need to use an example that's striking, like puking on your shoes. I need to use a couple of personal examples. And here we go. All right. So the thing about the cognitive approach is you eliminate emotion, you eliminate bias. You are going plan A, man. Plan A is going to work. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And so you're walking up to the office and you're like, man, I am in trouble. I did that stupid thing. I'm going to get suspended. My parents are going to take away my phone. They're going to take away my car keys. They're going to change the Wi-Fi password. I need to come up with a way to get out of this. What can I do? I could run through the front door. It ain't going to work. They're going to chase me. They'll call my house. I could sit down in there. I could try to reason with Mr. Sivrud. I could blame it on my best friend. No, that ain't going to work. What could I do? Oh, man, I could throw up. There's a pandemic right now, and upset stomach's one of the potential things. So if I could throw up, then maybe I could get out of here. They'll stick me in a sick room with the baby monitor, and I'll call my family, and they'll tell them to come get me, or I get to drive home, and everyone's going to be worried that I have COVID, and so they're going to lay off me for a couple days. And by the time I get back to school, it's going to be Tuesday, and maybe all this stuff will blow over. Pop. There you go. Cognitive approach. All right, last but not least, sociocultural approach. You believe sociocultural is social and culture. You believe that behavior is completely a result of the social groups, gender groups, racial groups, cultural groups that you're a part of. The reason that I act the way I do is because I'm a white dude from a small town. Wisconsin, actually, too, man. Eesh. I got all the strikes against me. All right. The reason I act the way I do is because I'm a former athlete. The reason I act the way I do is because I'm a teacher. The reason I act the way I do is because I'm kind of an introverted extrovert. If that makes any sense to you, explain it to me because I don't get it. All right. You are a female. You're a male. You're a Target employee. You work at Walmart. You work at Culver's. You're a member of a church. You're a member of the volleyball team. You're an FFA. You're a small town kid. You are all the things that you are. Sociocultural psychologists believe that impacts the way you problem solve. You walk into that office, you throw up on your shoes. Okay. It's because Mr. Sivrud doesn't like all the groups that you're in that you feel like this is your only option to get out of things. Okay. Now, it's not always ironclad. Not every approach works for every example, and that's why it's kind of important to be eclectic. This makes, by the way, wink, wink, a beautiful matching section on a test or a multiple choice section. Okay. So if you have any questions, please make sure to let me know. This went a little long, and that's okay because I had to go through a lot of stuff. Be ready for the test tomorrow, and have a great evening. Bye-bye, everybody.